In this video, we're going to look at leveraging your live data and analytics to calculate tank turnover in Info360. Who is this for? So even though we're going to focus on tank turnover, which is a water quality analytic, this workflow can really benefit anyone that wants to pull out additional information and KPIs from their live data using mathematical functions. Specifically with the tank turnover analytic, it's for utilities looking to track water quality or consultants helping them with that. But overall, consultants managing the SCADA data for utilities and engineers or operators staff looking to pull out KPIs from SCADA data will benefit from this workflow. The workflow that we'll show is you'll create an analytic, assign inputs, add output calculations, calculate, and add the analytic to a workspace. Now that we've discussed the workflow and who can benefit, let's hop into the software and take a look at it. So first we're going to start in Info360 Insight and go to the Tools tab, and we're going to start with Analytic. So first you're going to create the analytic and give it a name. You can give it a description, and then you're going to want to set a time on it. This is important because you can set it as a fixed period or have it to continuously run as new data is brought in. So what we're going to look at today is just for the month of August in 2023. And you can also choose to create a template, create an analytic from the template, choose the library and the templates. Once you create OK, we're going to see it at the top in the draft. So first we want to add our data sources, and these are going to be the inputs for our calculations. This can come in the form of physical sensors or virtual sensors that are going to be used in our analytic. So for the tank turnover, we need two sensors. We need tank flow rate in and our tank level. And then we can decide from the series if it want to take the average of the data, what it opens at, the high, the lower, the close, and we're just going to stick with average at this time to get the average of that tank flow rate in. And then we'll add that second sensor. So once we have the data sources that we need, we can go ahead and start creating outputs. The first output that we're going to need is actually the moving average of the tank level, because that's required to do our tank turnover analytic. As you can see, with the different output types, it's going to give you different units. So if I were to switch to setting, no units, rain gauge, inches per hour. But for this one, we're going to use that tank level and do the moving average. Here you can choose functions or nodes. Since we want to get the simple moving average, we're going to go to functions and come to that moving average. As you can see, we have a lot of different averages that have been added to Info360 Insight that can be used in different KPIs and can really pull out some really important data besides just using the multiplication, add, divide, and subtract. So we're going to start with moving average. Another thing that has been added to Info360 Insight that can be really important is learning more about the functions. And what this does is it gives you the topic and what it actually is doing. So that can be a really good resource, really good way as you're building these out to pull out different information. We're going to go ahead and point to the tank level. It's always good to validate just to ensure. Oh, and I forgot to add a time period. So we need to add that because as we can see with the example, you need a time series and a period. So once we validate that, and we're going to go ahead and add another output for our tank turnover. And we're going to do some first basic math together. And as we can see now, that tank moving average is now in our nodes. So this is a good example of how you can use your inputs as outputs and really continue those calculations. So once we have that calculation all together, we'll go ahead and validate that again. And now that everything looks good, we'll go ahead and press create. And so now with a few clicks and a few steps using the inputs and the outputs, we have come together to get our tank turnover. And we're going to go ahead and click calculate. And now that it's finished calculating, we can go ahead and take a look at the results. You can turn on and off the different inputs and outputs in order to view the data that you're interested in. As you can see, it's also in an overlay chart. You can uncheck this and that will all turn into its own graph. For now, we're going to turn off those inputs and really just look at our data. And so, as we can see here, we went ahead and calculated the tank turnover for the tank 5004. So this is a really good example of how you can really use your live sensor data as well as some mathematical functions to pull out analytics. So even though we concentrated on tank turnover today, there's really a lot of different information that you could pull out of your live data and make that live data work more for you by pulling out different KPIs. Finally, the last step we'll look at is going ahead and adding it to a workspace. We are going to go ahead and add it to the DMA4. We'll add to the workspace. Now we can see it's been added and go to selected. So all of this can really be done quickly within one environment to go ahead and view that data. Now that we've discussed the workflow and stepped through it, I hope you can see some of the benefits. Some of those include increasing the ROI from sensor data and tracking KPIs within the system. Really, by using your sensor data and mathematical functions to pull out this information, your sensors are starting to work more for you. It increases the usability of this data by being able to pull more information out. You can improve data visualization by tracking other information within your system. Hope you enjoyed this water drop. We look forward to talking to you next time.